morning. So, let's see. Okay. Hopefully we have a lot more coffee in our system when we start to wake up on this rainy day. I am not talking to the microphone, so apologies for the in and out. Today I'm going to talk to you about how and why you should create the change you want to see in the world. And I believe that as digital professionals, and I'm presuming most everyone in this room works in digital in one way or another, I believe that as digital professionals, we can be more active and proactive in creating the change we want to see in the world. So you might recognize this as a play on a quote by Gandhi that goes, be the change you want to see in the world, but be is a very passive word, and create is much more active and proactive, and something that I believe you can be doing as people skilled in digital. So I want you to take a moment to think about think about a cause or issue that you're very passionate about, or that's very close to your heart. It can be related to the environment, or politics, or social justice, or medical advancement. So I want you to think of one thing, one cause or issue that's very close to your heart, and lock it into your brain. And then give you like a nod, or a wink, or an okay, or something to let you know you got it locked in. And if you don't think of anything, it's either because you're realistic or you're a sociopath. So, okay, so everyone has something locked into their head. Now I want you to consider for a moment the fact that you work in a field that, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Nope. Okay, you work in a field that is about the same age as the women in this photo. And so in this talk, when I talk about digital, I'm really referring to the World Wide Web. And World Wide Web, when you break it down to the most simple thing, is information with hyperlinks that links to other information. So that applies to websites, social media, mobile apps, etc. So the world's first website or web page went up at the end of 1990. So the web is only about 26 years old, right? And I've worked in the web for over 10 years. There's some people in this room that are 1 or 5 or 10 or 15. And in just 26 years, the web has completely revolutionized the world. It's changed the way we talk to one another or communicate with one another, how businesses communicate with consumers, how governments communicate with the public. So, and in those 25 years, digital has formed mass human communication, unlike any other form of communication in history. So you go back to like writing on walls and caves, to the printed book, to radio, television, film. Now we're in digital. In digital, unlike thousands of years of human history, is the fastest, cheapest, and farthest reaching form of mass human communication in history. That's amazing. And it's even more amazing that it's only 26 years old and you work in that field. So I encourage you, so for example, like I can put up a website today for free, which is amazing, and within hours, someone in another part of the world who I've never met and will never meet again, ever, will be looking at my content potentially. That is amazing, right? So I encourage you, later on today or tomorrow, to sit and think about that issue or cause that you have locked in your head, and think to yourself, what could I do via digital to create the change I want to see in the world? How can I use my skills as a digital professional, my know-how, my network of other people who work in digital to affect change in whatever issue or cause is close to your heart? Because, one, a lot of them can really use us. Like if you look at some of the websites or other digital presence for major cause or issues, they have a hard time communicating effectively to a user or a consumer or a constituent. So our skills are very useful nowadays, and you can really make a difference. So I want to talk to you about a project I've been working on that's my own way of trying to create the change I want to see in the world. So a little bit about me. My educational background was in writing and in journalism, the good kind of journalism. Sorry, I could go on for hours about the foreign state. So, my professional career has been in digital the entire time, in one way or another. So, digital project management, digital content, digital strategy. Nowadays, I work as a digital consultant for digital content and digital strategy. I also teach digital marketing courses at the postgrad level at Cal State Fullerton. And my passion in life, like Grace mentioned earlier, is travel. It's where most of my money goes and where a lot of time has gone in my life, even without me realizing it. So, also, the reason why this is up is my name is Todd Bates, like the Taj Mahal. So, like I mentioned, travel is something that I'm really passionate about. And I've been fortunate through the years to be able to go to many different places from the country and many different countries around the world across 6 continents thus far. And I can go on for hours about how travel has influenced me as like a citizen of the world, as a writer, as a digital strategist, etc. And so when I see stats like this, that 41% of Americans let paid vacation days go to waste, it depresses me. And it also befuddles me because I have never wasted a vacation day, ever, right? So, meanwhile, and by the way, this stat has been going up through the years. Americans are vacationing less and less and less. Meanwhile, you have another stat like this, health-related, that 75% of doctor visits are stress-related. This according to the American Psychological Association. And they also found that of the 6 leading causes of death in this country, all 6 of them can be caused by long-term stress. So that's where you're stressed out day after day after day, year after year after year, and your body can't handle that. You could literally cause yourself to die younger or develop a serious illness from being stressed out too much. What's a great way to de-stress? In the now, go on vacation. Also, what's a better way to have a better perspective on life and to be more mindful of not allowing yourself to be stressed out day after day after day? Traveling. Traveling opens up your mind to like there's a bigger world out there, and also there's a longer history of the world and humankind out there. So now, when it comes to when people do travel, then you get into the inefficiencies of the travel process, right? So has anyone here ever planned a trip like more than like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks overseas, somewhere for you've never been before? So a study in Great Britain found that amongst British holiday goers, as they go on holiday over there, they can spend on average 30 hours planning a trip abroad. And then a study here in the U.S. found that people can visit upwards of 38 websites for planning a trip. So whether this seems high or low to you, a couple of years ago, I was planning this big trip with lots of different stops in different countries, most second and third world, so safety was really important for pre-planning. And at the end of it, planning the trip, I was exhausted. And it was the first time in my life I realized like how time-consuming travel planning is. And despite the fact that I might be a type A person, I don't want to spend that much time planning. But there's so much, even in this great day and age of digital, there's so much information out there. But it's getting to the point where there's too much information out there, right? And so when it comes to traveling, you have information that's incredibly biased because it's paid for or created by corporations, or you have information on like lots of review sites written by random people who don't travel that much and complain about stupid things, or you have information that's incredibly cliche, like here in LA. LA is about beach bars, like lawns and stuff. It's like, oh God. Or you have information that's out of date, right? So, given all my different experiences, traveling in many different places around the world, given my training as a writer and a journalist and a digital professional, I wanted to see if I could create a better travel guide to somewhere to make it quicker and easier for someone to plan a trip. And so I decided to use my own backyard. This is my backyard, right? Granted, it's 6 hours, north of here, but and so I decided to see if I can create a better travel guide to California. So this culminated, there we go, in the creation of 2 types of guides. One, print edition that are available for pre-order right now, as well as a digital edition called California Insider. So California Insider is the world's first all-digital guide to California's must-sees, must-dos, and must-eats. It was built from the ground up to be digital, and this is a big deal because a lot of travel guides, first of all, it's so funny how something you've used for so long, the longer you're in a digital strategy, so you're like, oh, I hate you. So a lot of travel guides, they're in print, they're like 400, 500, 600 pages in little tight, single space of like hundreds of things you're never ever going to do. You don't have that much time to do it. And so trying to plan a trip from 400, 500, 600 pages is crazy. And then to digitize those print editions, they scan them or whatever, and then put them in a Kindle edition. And if you ever look on Amazon at reviews of Kindle books, they're horrible. They're like, I can't figure out how to use this stupid Kindle edition of a travel guide. So that is why this was built from the ground up to be digitally gorgeous, whatever. So, so I want to talk about 3 digital strategy best practices that went into the creation of California Insider that you can apply to a project that you're working on now, your 9 to 5, or you can apply to a project that is your way of creating the change you want to see in the world. So the first one is during the content creation and curation process, the first thing you should do is define your methodology of how you're going to create or content or curate content. Because a lot of times your methodology behind how you create and curate can set you apart from the status quo. It can make you competitively effective, give you a competitive advantage. It can also, at the end of the day, be much more useful to your end consumer. So for California Insider, I defined the methodology at the very beginning of, my goal was to make it quicker and easier for someone to plan a vacation in California, right? And so, in my experience, a great way to do that is tell me what are the top things to see and do at a destination, right? So my methodology was, I wanted to identify what are the top destinations and experiences to be had in California. But here's the kicker, that you can't get anywhere else in the world. That's totally and completely unique to California. It makes it worthwhile to travel here, whether you're coming from 7,000 miles away, you're going from LA to going to California. And so that was the methodology that defined the entire content curation and creation process. And after lots of research, lots of interviews, lots of road trips up, down, and around the state, which is gorgeous, by the way, I came up with a list of the top 30 things to see and do in California that you can't see and do in the same way anywhere else in the world. So the next phase is structure and formatting that information that you put together. And so this is another area where you can have a competitive advantage or create something you get better than the status quo. And we see this all the time. We see a lot of websites and you're like, geez, if we can just restructure and reformat the content you have, you would do so much better. So an example of the California Insider when it came to structure and format, of course, the first thing you want to do is think about your end user. So the end user for a travel guide to California is varied. You can have someone coming from overseas, you can have someone coming from another state, you can have someone coming from here in California. Because millions of people travel all 3 of those different places here every single year. California is one of the top tourism destinations in the US. So, and also I need to take into account the different phases of a travel journey. You know, someone who's pre-planning versus someone who's like, I'm hungry, we're going to eat now. So I'll give you some insight into some of the structure of California Insider. And so, and I want you to pretend that you either live in London or you live in LA. You can pick where you want to live. And you're very busy at work, but you've never been to San Francisco before. So you're kind of like, okay, I don't have time to plan. I'll book my plane ticket. I'll get a hotel and figure it out when I get there. Which is cool. You have California Insider, you can do that. So you wake up the next morning in your hotel room, and you're like, okay, what are we going to do today? The weather's not terrible in San Francisco, which is a big deal. So, you can go to like the San Francisco landing page, and this is an example of it on mobile, and you can see, quickly what are some of the top things to see and do and eat in San Francisco. Eat is a big part of California Insiders. I don't know about you, I love to eat when I go overseas, and so it highlights what are authentic things you should eat in San Francisco, things that are completely authentic to San Francisco. And by the way, somebody said there were like top 30 things to see in California. So that from a structure perspective, it's divided into 6 different regions of California. LA is one region, San Francisco is another region. So you're in your hotel room, you're like, all right, I think I'm going to check out the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm going to talk to you to see you. So you can go to the Golden Gate Bridge landing page or what have you. And you see that we have an iconic page now to make it possible for people in different parts of the journey to more quickly access information. So an example of how, and by the way, so the Golden Gate Bridge is an example of a chapter. And so chapters have several different sections to help people get a sense of what they want to do. There we go. Okay, so on the Golden Gate Bridge, you can have a section on highlights. So highlights are great ways to experience the Golden Gate Bridge. So highlights 5 of them. One of them is going on foot, but they're going to need to know you can't just go whenever you want. It has another page related to going via bike. And so if you went to the detail page for going on bike to Golden Gate Bridge, it tells you what's the best place to rent a bike if you want to bike across the bridge. And this is something you can't easily find anywhere else. It tells you what times of day can you be on which side of the bridge in a certain time of year. It's complicated. It's like that with the Golden Gate Bridge, etc. And on the detail page, you can if you're like, I totally want to do this, you can save it to your profile with your later. The next section is insider tips, so things that a traveler should know or prepare for before heading to a particular destination. So for the Golden Gate Bridge, if you're not from San Francisco, you probably don't know that the Golden Gate Bridge is its own microclimate. It can go from fog to sunny, back to fog like that. It's crazy, right? So knowing that you're going to go to the Golden Gate Bridge, you should bring a layer just in case. And actually, my next case. Next section is notable nearby. So it's like, if I'm going to the Golden Gate Bridge, which is on the northwest corner of San Francisco, then I don't want to have to spend half of my day going to another part of the city to do something else. What are other cool things I can do to stay in the geographic pocket of the Golden Gate Bridge? So it highlights that in the notable section as well. So then there's a dining nearby section. What are really great places to eat near the Golden Gate Bridge? So you don't have to spend your time on review websites reading random reviews by random people. At least 6 restaurants always bubble up for a particular destination, and it's like these are all embedded, they're all great places to eat, and they range in price range and cuisine type. Then there are 2 sub-pages off of the Golden Gate Bridge chapter page. One of the sub-pages is related to another digital best practice. You have to think about, when it comes to your content, how can I serve up the same content in different ways to accommodate different types of users and different journeys in their journey. So, so everything that's on the Golden Gate Bridge chapter page is available in that format as well. And you can easily click and get instant directions to wherever you want to go. And then finally, we have what's called a Discover page. So Discover pages give you some background information, rural information, and insight into why the Golden Gate Bridge is so unique in relation to other places in the world. And so before I wrote the chapter page, or the subpage, I'd been to the Golden Gate Bridge before, I'd driven across it, whatever. But after I wrote this and did all this research, when I went back, it was a totally different experience. It's like I'm looking at a bridge that I never knew was built during the height of the Great Depression. So it was built with with heavy money. But it was completed, it was the longest suspension bridge in the world. So it was an engineering feat at the time. But they didn't just build it to be, practical. They also built it to be beautiful. I understand there's Art Deco influences. I knew why it's the color that it is. Because it could have been another color if other people had been red or not been that pretty. So, okay. So finally, the third digital strategy best practice that went into California Insider is something that I've always applied to any project I've worked on, and I think it's because of my background as a journalist. So journalists, good ones, you're always digging for information. You're digging for the best information you possibly can get, right? And so a lot of times in companies, let's say your company wants to do a redesign, right? You're like, okay, we're going to redesign our content. What's the content we currently have? What do we want to keep? What do we want to get rid of? What do we want to to keep it what needs to be polished or revised or whatever. They don't really give much thought to what's the information that's not on the website, what's the information that's in people's heads, or that's in a book, or that's in an archive. So I'm a big believer in always going in search of the information unknown. So an example of that from California Insider Projects is, let's say someone has come to California and they're like, I want to do a wine tasting tour in California, right? Why? Because California is the 4th largest producer of wine in the world. We're a wine-making powerhouse. And so the information you know, most travel guides, most magazines, most websites, they all say the same thing. Can anyone guess what they say? They all say Napa. If they say Napa, they might also say Sonoma. They all say Napa. Now, why do they say Napa? Because of something that happened 40 years ago, where 2 Napa wines beat out a whole bunch of French wines, and French people were like, bonjour, and Americans were like, aha, right? So for 40 years, people have been saying the same thing over and over again. And it's kind of like saying, hey, I want to play a video game. What video game should I play? And someone's like, 40 years ago, Atari was really hot. So for 40 years, people have been repeating Atari, and you're like, Atari or Call of Duty? Which one should I be? So when I started working on a chapter related to wine for California Insider, I was like, let me step back from the information known and go digging for information unknown to see if I can come up with something much more useful to a traveler and even more recent. So from lots of different research, I discovered that, So, and also going back to my methodology. The methodology was, what are things you can see and do and experience in California and you can't get anywhere else in the world? So if I were going to another country, like let's say I was going to Italy, right? And I wanted to do a wine tasting tour in Italy, I have 2 questions. One, what are the wines I should definitely try when I'm in Italy? What are the signature wines of Italy, right? And 2, what are great wine countries to go to for those wines? And so when it came to so for Italy, when you go to Italy, our signature wine of Italy is Chianti. There's a region that's really well known for Chianti. So I would do that. So applying the same questions to California, what's the signature wine of California? Does anyone know? That's okay. Somebody's don't know. So the signature wine of California is Zinfandel. Zinfandel has been grown here for over 150 years. There are actually vineyards in California with Zinfandel vines that are over 100 years old. They produce really rich, robust wines. And there's nowhere else in the world that has been commercially growing and bottling Zinfandel to the extent that we have at all. So when you, and here's the deal, because California is the biggest wine producing region in the country, the signature wine of the U.S. is also Zinfandel. There's a whole lot of really cool history related to wine and Zinfandel in this country. But so for digging for the information unknown, I was able to provide something much more useful to travelers. Like, don't just come to California and drink whatever. No, when you're here, you should totally try Zinfandel because maybe the same level of Zinfandel and premium Zinfandel, maybe the same level of skill and expertise that Chardonnay, Chianti, and their regions as well. So I will end on 2 notes. One, by saying that if you're interested in checking out California Insider, which you should, you can save 20% off by using the code WIADLA17. And secondly, by saying that there's actually another cause issue that's very close to my heart that made a big impact on California Insider, and that's the environment. So I've been an environmentalist since I first learned about the 3 R's in grade school. I get pissed off whenever there's an oil spill. I'm going to cuss them out when they throw a cigarette butt out the window. And so here's a fun fact. How many of you know that on our state flag and our state seal, we have an animal that is extinct? Right. So the California grizzly is a subspecies of the grizzly bear, the American grizzly bear. And up until before the California Gold Rush in 1848, there were about 10,000 of them. 80 years later, all of them were dead. Sorry to be behind. In that same 80 to 100 year period, these trees were almost on the cusp of being all gone as well. So this is called the California coastal redwood. And the coastal redwood is the world's tallest tree. It's the tallest tree in the world. And it only grows in Central California, Northern California, and a little bit of Oregon. So we're going to cut it off, right? And so this is what is believed to be the tallest world. So think about the fact that trees that were like started growing during the Roman Empire, in less than 100 years, 90% of them were cut down. 90% of trees that took over 1,000 years old, or 1,000, 2,000 years to grow, were cut down in less than 100 years. And the only reason I'm able to include a chapter about the coastal redwood in the book is the only place in the world you can walk the forest of trees that are sky high and like ancient is because people fought tooth and down to preserve them. People raised millions of dollars to like buy land, and now that land is being converted to state and national parks. So my hope is that for people who are utilizing California Insider, or utilizing the print books, by the way, for marketers. So the print books are available for pre-order. If you pre-order, you can get an automatic copy of them. So my hope is that for people utilizing them, that it will inspire you and them to go and see the awesome places to see and do here in California, but also to support legislation, to support organizations, and to support representatives who work to conserve and preserve what we have, because we lost so quickly. So I will end on that note, and any questions?
How are you doing with updates?
Updates?
Yeah, so information a year from now.
Gotcha. So that's a great question. So the awesome part is that it's well, for California Insider, it can be updated whenever I happen to see something. So you know, we have a new football team here. We have a soccer stadium being built. So anytime I see something like, oh, I remember that. That answer your question? Okay. Any other questions?
I'm just wondering, are you outsourcing this information, or is it just you traveling around the world managing it?
So for right now, so this is kind of like a proof of concept. So right now it's just me, but outsourcing is a possibility. Yeah. Any other questions? Okay.
So you talked about the methodology of deciding what's unique to California. Kind of wondering what level of detail that goes to. So you get a good example with wine and stuff, but I'm thinking about, say, museums. Like museums are located here, that they might have similar content that's in other places.
That's a good question. So, to give you insight into that. So one of the chapters is actually on the Getty Museum. And the reason why the Getty Museum made the list is because, one, it's not just about the art. Okay, here's a fun fact. The Getty Museum is the richest museum in the world. They have so much money that by law they're required to spend a certain amount of money every single year to buy art. And when so not only are they able to buy whatever the hell they want, but their buildings are architectural buildings as well. And it's also beautiful grounds and beautiful views. So there's a lot of combination of experiences that makes the Getty unique in relation to a lot of other museums. Is that a question a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking of that. So I guess it's applying that to that information.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So inherently, categories include, there are like 6 categories, like art and architecture, natural wonders, landmarks, like innovators and landmark. I can't remember the other 3 right now. But yeah, so there were categories, and really what it was is, at the end of the day, it's a track some research, and they compared it, things that places in the world to see what makes it